We are gathered here today at this 1 p.m. hour to talk to Grieves here, amazing
Hello.
rapper from Seattle who was kind enough to come visit us to share information about his process using the Apollo and the UAD stuff to make music. So the first thing I'm going to do, for those of you who are not paying attention, let's look at the session, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. How did this track come together? Like, what was the? How do you start this? Something like this.
This track in particular. So I did the whole record, Running Wild, in Stockholm, and that's where I really started using the UAD, interfaces and plugins the most. Is because, traveling across the world, you can't bring your vocal chain with you or anything like that unless it's all digital. So for me, I invested in an Apollo and a satellite, and I was able to travel around the world and have exactly what I wanted. And this is the only track that was actually recorded in Seattle, which is where I live. So we brought the producer out, Jens, or Chords, from Stockholm, and this was the one and only U.S. track that we worked on. So it was us kind of fighting through jet lag and.
So did you start with that Rhodes hook? Did you start with the breakbeat?
I think, honestly, we started with the breakbeat on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how about we listen to that breakbeat solo? Can you guys hear us okay? Okay, bananas, because we can't
Yeah, we can't hear a damn thing over
hear
here.
anything here. So as long as you guys happy, life is good. So that's the breakbeat. Give us a second while we remodel. That's marginally better.
Teamwork.
Okay, that's how we roll, yo.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so so here's the beat. So you did something very interesting there. That's right, new Pro Tools madness. There you go. So you have two breakbeat tracks.
I do, yeah.
Let me start with just one, and let's bypass all the plugins on it. So we know where you started. So that was your basic beat. And then you used a bunch of UAD plugins to do stuff.
Yes. Well, I guess without talking about the second part of it, I just wanted to craft.
Oh, did you duplicate it right away?
Normally, it's like an old school trick of mine from back when I was working on the MPC and stuff like that.
What would the trick be?
The trick would be to cut the lows out of the first part of the breakbeat and then cut all the highs out of the second part of the breakbeat, and you layer them on top of each other, and you can control the low part a lot more. It's just a lot easier now with a computer than it is an old, shitty MPC with a zip disk on it.
Let me illustrate that. So this would be the high-end part of the breakbeat. And then you can see just to the right of it, there's this breakbeat right here, which is the same thing duplicated.
Yep.
But it comes from the same track, you just processed it differently, right? If you put the two of them together, you could actually make that bass drum
Got some
sound
balls.
manly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Balls
And
is a
you're able to
technical
control
term,
the balls.
and which is a good thing. I like that. So on the high-end part, so let's start with the low-end part because it's very straightforward.
Yep.
On the low-end part, you basically low-passing it a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
So this is without. Then the Harrison EQ.
I pretty much don't want any activity going on in the higher range.
You're using it to extract the bass drum.
the bass.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you have a little compression there behind it.
Just to glue it together.
Keep it together.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the low end part. And then on the high end part, so we start in the same spot. So you're high passing it with the Cambridge.
Yep.
Then you
just
compress.
giving it a little snap for the snare.
So yeah, did you guys get that? He's using the compressor to actually bring the snare out, right? This is without. With. Notice how you just basically level everything, you get more of the snare transient. Then it does that again with the 2500.
I feel like I have to put the API 2500 on everything too, so
yeah, I mean that's a good disease to have, and then a little bit of reverb to
that
create.
gives it some space.
Okay, and the combo of the two is this. Cool. So you started with that.
Yeah, and the breakbeat wasn't bad to begin with. It just, you have more control over it this way in your track and in your mix.
It's also more yours now. It's
Totally.
more of your vibe. Cool. And then you added a bunch of kicks. So for example, there's a kick sample here.
It's hip hop, so you know the low end's got to be always more, I guess.
Fair enough. And there's no processing on the kick. So you're happy with your sample?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I think we might have done some through the preamps, but
Oh yeah, in real time.
you can do it all in real time.
What Grieves is referring to is that since he's tracking with an Apollo, and Apollo has real-time plugins on the way in, you can actually track your live stuff, you know, a bass drum or even a sample through plugins in real time with no latency, so you can commit to your sound right away.
And that's if you send it out for mixing and you
Yep.
really love the tone of your kick, you don't want anybody messing with it, it sounds good just like that, which is clearly what happened there.
Yes. So the three of them is like this. And then you added the rest of your drums, but that's pretty much the whole beat.
Yeah. Nothing crazy.
Just a little bit of accents here and there. So that's great. So, and then you're routing this, which is very interesting. You're routing all the drums to a drum bus, which is this guy right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to highlight it green so everybody can see it. All right, so that's the drum bus, okay? And that drum bus is going to a music bus. Whoosh.
Yes, it
And
is.
the music bus is right here. So basically, you have two main buses,
Yep.
and all the music is going to the music bus, and I will let you guess what goes through the Vox bus.
Kazoos.
All the kazoos in this
All
track are
kazoo
going
bus.
through the Vox bus. And then those two buses go to a print bus, and that is what you print,
Yeah, it's
hence
your
the
master.
name.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the rationale behind, you know, separating music and voices in two separate buses?
Really, it's just an organization thing. I like a clean session, especially when I'm working with vocals. I want to be able to cut everything off as fast as I can. And, you know, having a music bus is quicker than highlighting everything and, you know, shift option clicking. So
Great.
it's just a preference thing. I mean, it's not something you absolutely have to do.
No. But this is a very interesting way of working, which
Yeah.
is why I'm pointing it out to these wonderful people
Yeah.
gathered here today.
Sometimes I throw this one, the drums are actually in the music bus, but sometimes I'll just leave, you know, all melodic. I'll call it the melodic bus.
Yeah.
And then I'll just have drums, melodic, and vocals.
And
So-
those three buses I join into the print bus.
Into the print bus, yep.
Okay, that sounds great. So another interesting thing on this is that Rhodes hook.
Yeah.
So I'm going to solo that. Wrong track. I'm a professional here. Don't try this at home. Do you remember where this came from?
Yeah, well, so for years I've been running my Rhodes through like the Space Echo pedal.
Yep.
I love the sound of it. You can control kind of the depth and the feel
Yeah.
of that instrument, and it's a little bit unique to how I do it. That's just kind of what my Rhodes sounds like now.
Yeah.
Until I discovered the Galaxy Tape Echo.
Ah.
And the way my studio is set up is everything's mic'd, everything's ready to go all the time. So when I come in to write, I can just turn my computer on and just go. And the Galaxy Tape Echo lives on that channel, but
On the input of
the Apollo.
Of the Apollo.
Yeah. And
Are
I
you
know.
sorry to interrupt.
Keep
Are you
going.
guys clear with this? So because the Apollo has a console, that's an input console that looks like this. You can actually go in and say if Grieves had his Rhodes connected to the input of the Apollo Twin, you could say, okay, I want to have a Galaxy Echo on the way in. This is in real time on the way to your DAW, no matter what your DAW is, right? So you can commit to this sound, just like if you had a pedal. Instead of having the pedal, it's in the Apollo system in real time with no latency.
And
It's
that
for
being
peop-
said,
yeah.
I get excited about the Space Echo, and I know I overdo it. So I don't track it. I don't track it with it on. I can hear it while I'm playing it, but the audio comes back dry.
So what he's referring to is here you can see on the right of the console there are two buttons. One is monitor and one is rec. Okay? When it's red, everything you have inserted on the input channels gets recorded, just like if it were a piece of hardware before the UAD. When it's this bluish green, you're just monitoring it. So you're recording the clean signal, but you're listening to the signal with a plugin on it, so you can use the plugin again later. That's for people who have commitment issues. There's nobody here with commitment issues, right? No, none of us. Yeah. So that's a very good way to work. You can preserve both. And by the way, you can choose with the new version. You could choose on a channel per channel basis. This is commitment. I'm going to record this, or this channel I'm just going to monitor, which is very practical.
And it's as easy as copy and pasting. So if you open up the Galaxy here in the UAD menu, you can just hit copy, and then you can paste that on yours in Pro Tools or any other DAW that you're working in. So you immediately transfer the settings that you had over, and then you can dial it back or dial it up from there.
Which is what you did. Let's look at that. So let me remove this so I don't have this on my next demo. We're here. So this is the raw sound. I'm going to ruin the mix a little bit.
You can hear a little bit in there.
Is a little bit, yeah.
There's a little bit.
Then you high pass it.
Yep, cut out some of that mud.
I actually made a bunch of stickers that say high pass everything. I'll give you one.
I will take a bunch.
That's great. And then there's an LA2 with a smidgen of compression.
Just a little bit, you know, no big deal.
All right. So is this a compression thing or a tone thing? What's your...
I think specifically with this, it's a tone thing. It makes it sound, to me, more like a sample than it does like I'm sitting there playing the Rhodes.
Good point. Check it out without. With. It helps fill the gaps in between the notes. Good move. Then, it's nice. So this is without the Galaxy Echo. With.
She's a beautiful baby.
That's pretty awesome.
I really like it.
And then what do you use this for? I've never used this one, actually.
I think it's just for saturation.
Ah, let's listen to that. You actually bring in more of the echo thing. Cool, I'm going to check that out.
Sometimes I just start rifling through plugins too, because they gave me the NFR, so I got all of them now. So I like to go through them all and just be like, what the hell does this do? And sometimes they live there.
You could spend
a long time.
A long time, a good deal of your life going through that entire list. And this is what it sounds like in the sauce of the whole track.
There's a warm breeze blowing from the North Beach, baby, while you sitting around wasting time. It's a cold world, crazy how you'd rather stay stupid, getting old, steady, getting game time. I'm on a roll and I
just love how subtle this stuff is and how it just flows. And these kinds of pocket are pretty rare these days in hip-hop. I think this is really, really delightful.
Thanks, man.
Let's talk about your vocal process. I have my notes here. I'm not checking my email. I'm not updating Facebook. I'm checking my notes.
He's checking his Tinder.
Yes. Yeah. I swipe a lot. I'm a swiper. All right. So here's something that you do that's particular that I haven't quite seen before. You guys can see here in pale green, blue, and in yellow. You see those tracks up there? And those are all of Grieves' vocal tracks. And all those vocal tracks are sent to, as we mentioned, a Vox bus. Okay? You'll notice there's almost no processing on the vocal tracks. All the processing is on the bus. Now, that's interesting. Why is it interesting? Good question. Thank you for asking. It's interesting because you have the lead vocal, and then you have a bunch of other vocals that come in, but you already have compression.
Yep.
So I'm curious to know how you think about that and why you do it this way, because conventional wisdom, which brings us lots of good and bad things, but conventional wisdom would have it that you would have separate processing for the vocals that come separately, and then maybe some sauce on top. So how did you come to this system?
Every track is different, and I think that's just how this track ended up. It's not a specific process of mine to do it like that every time. I just think if you get to a point and it works and it sounds good, you can just leave it and you can move on to the next.
What a concept.
And especially, you know, we were really utilizing the unison pre's. So if you can EQ and compress on the way in, and if you already know what you're tracking, save everybody the time and just do it right. And I don't know. They're also backup rap dubs, so I don't really, they're not the most crucial thing in the world to me. And they just kind of fit there in the mix, and I'm happy with it.
Okay, so here's the lead vocal.
said I came through buzzing, I was looking for a little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my headphones.
So on the lead, so you probably use some unison pre's and some real-time UAD on the way in.
And I own a LA610, so I think we definitely use that a lot.
Okay.
Especially for lead vocals.
LA610 is a rack mount UA box, hardware box that has an LA610 preamp and sorry, a 610 preamp and an LA2 clone in compressor in the same box. So then you added the Fatso thing, probably for the warmth.
Yeah,
system.
it's just a very subtle. I mean, it's actually kind of hard to hear, but I think in the mix it just puts a little bit more beef in the vocals.
Yes, it does that very well. And then so that is going to this bus, and on this bus we have
All the damn things.
all the damn things. An SSL Legacy,
Classic.
Precision DSer, a 670, an EQP1A, and then the last one I think is just a high pass,
Yeah.
standard Pro Tools high
What
pass.
is it cutting out?
Okay.
Like 40? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's check this out. So I'm going to mute everything. Sorry, bypass everything. Here we go.
I said I came through buzzing. I was looking for a little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my
Cool. So you hear the vocal moving a little bit, right? So then what Grieves did is he used the Legacy like this.
I said I came through buzzing. I was looking for a little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my headphones bumping. If
Shapes it
you
a
isolate
bit.
my
You get a lot of gain and you get a lot of aggressive top. Then you DS.
little funky jam that I could stick it to.
Quite a
I
bit.
got my headphones bumping. If you isolate
This DSer is awesome. Then you compress. You're not compressing much with the SSL.
No.
You chose with this to compress with the Fairchild.
little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my headphones bumping. If you
I
isolate
fell
my
in love with the
vocals, you could
Fairchild a
probably
long
hear
time
it
ago, and I
bleeding
try to
through.
apply it where I can. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how they actually modeled the fat of all those transformers. It's pretty amazing. There's a guy in my studio who has a real Fairchild, actually
Really?
two. Yeah, and there's this one, but this one I can't use. Whereas his I can.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to it, and it's fabulous. But this is equally fabulous. You know, I didn't expect it to be. It's the same experience, which is great. And then you added the EQP1A, which is a pull tech, to open 12K but lower a little. So you did the boost and cut at the same time
Yep.
here. So as a reminder, this is without the EQP1A.
little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my headphones bumping. If you
This
isolate
is with.
little funky jam that I could stick it to.
Hear that shine?
I got my headphones bumping. If you isolate my vocals, you could probably hear it bleeding through. Word.
And then this is in the track. I think it's a little lower than the record, so I'm going to jack
Yeah.
it up a smidgen. Hold on. Here we go.
little funky jam that I could stick it to. I got my headphones bumping. If you isolate my vocals, you could probably hear it bleeding through. Word, whatever you feeling. I ain't
Is this
wasting
flat?
my time with a bunch of fucking chameleons. Stand out. Yeah, go and figure it out. Talk shit, you
With?
ain't hitting the mouth, so go and think about it. There's a warm breeze blowing from the North Beach, baby. Why you sitting around wasting time?
That sounds great. So
Yeah.
there's a couple things you're doing there, a couple more things that
Okay.
I'd like to ask you questions about if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
let's do it.
All right, so on those background vocals, on those hooks, there's little interventions here in blue and green. These guys.
They okay. They looking at us like we came from space and I don't care.
So they go through that bus, so they're processed the same as the lead vocal, which explains some of the reactivity of that compressor, why the compressor is so hard, because it's compressing everything and gluing everything together. But you're also sending it to a guitar amp.
I am. Yeah.
Why would anyone want to send your vocals to your guitar amp? Guitar amps are for guitars, dude.
Why the hell not, guy?
Okay, fair enough.
I do remember I was looking for like a specific distorted sound, and I couldn't quite find it. And I think I frustratingly put the guitar amp on the vocal, and I was like, shit, that sounds exactly what I want. And I have all the controls, so why not?
Let me show you what it does, because it's pretty awesome. So this is the sound raw.
They okay.
This is the sound with too much distortion.
They okay.
You hear that middle thing? And then this is where, hold on, let me undo this and this. This is where Grieves put it.
They okay.
It adds a little bit of an
like
edge.
We came from
Little
space
crunch.
and I don't care.
So this thing is like distorts when you look at it. I mean, it's like high gain.
Yeah. It looks badass.
Yes, yeah, it really is fierce. I think that's a really good trick. So to give edge on vocals,
Yeah.
and I would have never thought of using this one. So
It was
I'm
a happy mistake.
I'm gonna rip you off.
Take it.
Okay.
That's all you, man.
It's beautiful. And then you have a bunch of other stuff like you do delay throws.
Yep.
Like that really cool delay throw goes into this guy,
Yep.
which is one of the new plugins they just sent out. This is really
love
nice.
it.
This got a lot of vibe.
I love it.
It's got a lot of vibe. And that's it. It's a really simple track, meaning that you look at it and it doesn't look like a gas factory of complicated things everywhere. But the thing is delightful nonstop. And
Yeah.
that's a very good skill.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much, Grieves.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming and sharing your process with us.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna have to evacuate rapidly because Leggy is
I'm
coming
gone.
to do his demo right now, and we already are running a smidgen behind. If you want to talk to Grieves, he's gonna step aside right there, and you can ask him more questions. And I'll be back on this stage at 2 p.m. after Leggy's demo for another demo. Thanks for watching. Cheers.